So students, let's imagine that you want to buy something, but you don't quite have the cash right now, and you're not interested in the really high APRs of a credit card. You're like, that interest, typically around 20%, is so high. Isn't there another way that I can finance this? You're like, I really want to buy this couch for my new apartment, but it's $800. How am I going to do this so that I don't pay as much interest? Dun, da, da! A single payment loan arrives, which is also called a promissory note. These are financial devices to help you purchase things when you don't quite have the cash, but you know you're going to have it in less than a year. Let's look at some of the details. So you have a single payment loan. It typically has a maturity, or a synonym for this is term, of less than a year and less than $1,000. You're typically not going to find these like gigantic single payment loan amounts. They can also be called promissory notes, and they carry what's known as ordinary or exact interest. This is pretty interesting because you can calculate this interest based on ordinary, it's 360 days in a year, and exact is what you'd imagine, 365 days in a year. This is the historical implications of this. Why can't we just always have exact interest? Like, I think we've known for many, many hundreds of years that there's 365 days in a year. Why are we doing 360? I don't know. Old habits really die hard. But you have to check out whether you have ordinary or exact interest, because the year in which you're paying this promissory note off might be out of 360 days, or it might be out of 365 days, which can change the amount that you owe. Let's look at an example. On the 1st of November, we take out a promissory note for $800 at 12% ordinary interest and a 90-day term. So we are going to take 3 months, 90 days, to pay this note off, and we're going to pay the full $800 and the interest accrued at the end of that 3-month period. How much money is that going to be? Let's take a look. So we know we're going to owe $800. All right, we borrowed $800. We're going to have to pay $800 back. But we're also going to owe some interest. The way we calculate how much interest we're going to owe is we say, well, we know it's going to be 12%, but this 12% is ordinary, which means it's out of 360. How many days of this 360 ordinary interest did we take to pay it off? 90 days. We multiply these together in order to understand how much percentage interest we're going to owe. So 12% times 90 out of 360, and you're like, okay, Rogers, you're joking. That looks really hard to do mentally, and so let's keep developing our mental math skills. These are going to be really helpful for us as we continue to grow into adults. It just unlocks power. You're able to do things in your head, and you're like, wow, like, how did I do that? And it's through practice, right? If we practice these skills, you'll get better at them. So the 10 and the 10, those are going to divide away to create 1. So now we just have 9 out of 36. Well, thankfully, 9 out of 36 is divisible. 9 goes into 36 4 times. So if we divide both sides by 9 and divide both sides by 9, we'll get 1/4. Okay, so this is like 12% times 1/4. We keep going. 12% is like 12% over 1. And when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply the numerators and the denominators. So 12% times 1 is 12%. 1 times 4 is 4. And would you look there? We have some more divisibility. 12% is divisible by 4. 12 is divisible by 4. So if we divide both by 4, 12 divided by 4 is 3. And the units, the increments are in percent. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So 3% is the amount of interest we're going to owe on the $800. So let's do that. 3%. Right? 800 times 3%. We move the decimal back 2 places. You say to yourself, again, this is kind of hard, Mr. Rogers. How are we going to do this in our head? Well, I know that 3 times 8 is 24. And 3% is, yeah, it might be hard to do, but let's go back always to our friend 10%. 10% is super easy to do because you just divide by 10. Now, I know that 10% is a lot higher than 3%, but that's going to help me gut check to see if 24 is actually the right number. So if I divide by 10, I get 80. So 10% of 800 is 80. Well, 24 is less than that. So I do think that 24 is the correct answer. If you were to use a calculator to double check this, you'd be right. Another way to think about this is that this is 3/100ths, and this is 800. The hundredths and the hundreds, those place values divide to create 1. So you are just left with 24. So there's a mental math skill to prevent you from having to always break out the calculator on your phone, or if you have a standalone calculator, you can use that mental math skill to help you. So you're going to owe $24 in ordinary interest on 800. So at the end of the 90 days, you are going to send a transfer through an app or through an e-bill payment or some other way, maybe through cash. You're going to owe the $800 originally and the $24 in interest to make $824 as a single payment on this single payment loan, which is also called a promissory note. Why? Because I promise I'll pay you back. Have a great day.